What is up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 31 of the We Get to Do This podcast. Kaylee, who do we have on this week?
This week we had the incredible duo, Dakotah and Montana Popehn.
Thanks for listening and supporting the pod as always, and we hope you enjoy it.
We get to do this.
All right, welcome back. Today we are super excited because we have two super special guests on. We have Dakotah and Montana Popehn. I said it right?
Wow.
Did on the first try. That was amazing.
Super fan here. So just have listened to all of the pods. But yeah, we're doing a relationship, the business side of things, and I guess I'll pull back for most people know Dakotah already, our Olympian marathoner extraordinaire who competed at the Paris Olympics this year. Phenomenal human being from Minnesota. So just to start with, what we do for guests is we always ask, who are you? What do you do? And why do you do it, what you do? And if Dakotah, if you want to start first.
I am Dakotah Popehn. I am Minnesota-raised runner. I am now a professional runner for Puma, Minnesota Distance Elite, and 2024 Olympian. And I run because it makes me feel most like myself. It makes me my happiest and best self every single day.
Love it. Montana.
I don't know how I follow that up. I am Montana Popehn. I work to make money, and that's about it. I went to school for air traffic control, actually. So I was an aviation nerd back in the day. Kind of went a different direction right out of college. And now I work in logistics. So kind of similar, just making sure that trucks are moving on the ground instead of planes in the air. I am a avid runner, getting back into it. I've run one marathon before, and I am doing a second. So,
woo! You're on the quest for sub 3, no?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why do you say like that?
It's a lofty goal, but I like to set up the bar high, and if I come up short, that's fine. But I don't think I will.
Remind us which one you're doing.
Bayshore Marathon in Michigan.
Okay,
Traverse City.
It's in March, April.
End of May, I believe.
Oh, you got tons of how's training going so far?
It's good. I've been doing workouts for the first time. When I trained for my first marathon, it was more so just finishing. But now with speed, obviously, I've got to do workouts. So I've never done a track workout in my life. So it's been interesting to see how fast I can run and how hard it actually is.
Did you do sports growing up?
Yeah, I was in basketball most of my life. I play rec league basketball. I do golf, volleyball. I do pretty much every kind of sport in one fashion or the other. But running was never anything I had ever done up until I met her. So very new.
I was married an Olympian.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I'm glad you came to the dark side. I'm also a coach, and Dakotah, you're obviously a coach, and both of us coach our partners. So I'd be curious to hear what your experience from both ends has been in terms of Dakotah. What's it like coaching a partner? And Montana, what's it like having a partner as a coach? What's that relationship been like?
If any of my athletes hear this, they're going to be upset, but I feel like I'm softer on him. If the weather's bad, I'll be like, oh, just do it a different day. You can swap this day for that. I just feel like I'm more compassionate, maybe. And I guess I enjoy it, though. I'm just nervous about, pushing him. I feel like he will do anything I say, kind of got a golden retriever energy about him. So I'm just I do worry that I push him I'm going to push him too hard because you're so yes man, I want to keep getting better and better. So but it's been fun, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What's your perspective?
I feel like I'm just so oblivious to the things that you're having me do that I don't really know I don't really know what my threshold is or what's too much, what's too fast, what's too many miles. So I'm kind of still figuring that out. But I don't really have anything to compare it to. 'Cause I never had somebody else
Best
coach
coach
me.
ever.
Yeah.
Best coach ever.
No, it's really good in that aspect because she sees what I'm doing every single day, so she knows
Yeah.
what's best for my schedule, what's best for the ultimate goal of hitting a sub 3. So that's beneficial, and I have her cook all my meals and stuff like that. So she's got the nutrition part of it figured out for me. That's
Nice.
a huge plus.
He pays a high rate for all this stuff. So.
That's amazing. Yeah, I hear you on the I don't remember what I think you said compassion.
Yeah.
Or like if it's a Friday night or something and Kaylee hasn't done her run yet, I'll say, well, I wouldn't mind hanging out with you right now. How about we talk to your coach and just swap it or do the run for this week, which I would never do it,
Yeah.
Anybody else.
in that way with another athlete.
Or it's like a
Totally.
Saturday morning and I'm like, all right, got to go over to PRG for my long run. This happened last weekend. He's like, we gave you a long run.
He's a real stickler. I think it's nice though too because I can kind of match it up with my training. So if I have a double, like right now, his workouts are kind of around my like easy-ish pace, so I can pull him through workouts right now. I think that'll change. It's changing quickly, so I don't know. If I'll be able to do that for long. You're getting faster, so.
How convenient.
I'm like, I have 7 miles right now. So do you.
Yeah. I feel you do that to
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a workout day for him, then I bike usually.
Yeah. And I'm a little faster in Dakotah. So, it might be-
Right, of course.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously.
I'm curious on your opinion on that, though, Dakotah. I do a lot of times struggle with like selfishly programming Kaylee workouts sometimes, maybe even like a mile too long for like where she's at in that specific spot of training. Cause I'm like, that's another mile I get thrown with Bay. So like, you do that like with her, which it's a different, I think that's probably the hardest, at least for me, balance with coaching a partner is like selfishly, it's easier to like maybe give her a workout that I shouldn't, I guess. So I don't know if you do that too, but
I definitely give him maybe a little too long because I always say like if I have 6 miles and I give him 4, then my run's only 2 miles. It's like because the miles we have together don't really count. So my run starts when I drop him off. So like I'm always like, oh, I just one more mile. What is that really? But when you're just starting out, 1 more mile is a lot.
Right.
And see, Montana and I are both like blissfully unaware over here.
Yeah.
Even running coaches that were like, oh yeah, this just must be normal.
Yeah. And it's nice.
Must be working.
Yeah. And in the summer when it's at 4 p.m. peak heat a day, like doing all my miles at that time
Yeah.
to accommodate with her doubles.
Yeah. What about like the going from the spotlight, for lack of a better term, to then supporting Montana at his race? What is that transition like for you in terms of being at the race as, Coach Montana or Coach Dakotah, partner Dakotah? Is that an easy switch? Is that a difficult switch? What's that like?
No, that's the best for me. Like I love not being in the spotlight.
Like,
so
please take this.
yes, yeah, exactly. It's like please take the pressure, the energy. Like that is great for me. I'm really excited I get to. It worked out really well that I'm going to Bayshore to be like a just like help the race out and doing like a podcast with them and stuff. But then on race morning it's all Montana, which is. I think it's different in the way of like it's nice to not have the pressure, but also I feel like I'll be just as nervous as if I was racing, maybe even more so because I'm like out of control. I don't like the idea of him being on a start line and me not being there to like hold his hand, I guess, and like get him through it.
Like I'm gonna forget how to run.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that'll be nerve-wracking if I don't get to run the race with you, I guess.
For background, my first marathon, it was Run for the Lakes up in Nisswa. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's 2 13-mile loops. So she had a 13-mile run that day, I think, and she just did the first loop with me and then went and spectated the rest. So this one, she won't be able to start with me, probably, right?
Probably not.
Yeah. So it'll be a little
All
different.
on your own.
Yeah.
Big. It is. It's a big moment.
Set it free.
Yeah, it's like his first steps.
Yeah. I'll lock in though. It'll be good.
It will be fine.
'Cause my first marathon, I was just talking the whole time, just chatting everyone up. Like, where are you from? What's your story? Blah, blah, just wasting all this energy.
Yeah.
But this time I feel like it'll be different where I'll probably have my headphones in. I'll try and conserve as much energy as possible and really lock in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know you're capable then of so much more than what you would have
Right.
done with your first one.
For sure.
Pretty good feeling.
Right.
And why Dakota's making you do all these workouts and
Yeah.
fast-
Yeah, when he finished the race, he was like, it never really got hard. I was like, oh, I can't wait for the next one.
I think
That's actually incredible.
Yeah.
Marathons it never got hard. Good for you.
2 miles, I was a little bit uncomfortable, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm going to quit, which just shows that I probably could have gone a lot faster, but I was running with a buddy too, so it's different. You know him, Travis. He used to go to the PRG.
Yeah. Yep. I still run into him occasionally.
Yeah.
He'll usually gas me up, to be honest. I'll see him something like, dude, I saw you on Strava and you're doing this. And that's like boost my ego. I feel
Yeah.
every time I see him. He's a
Yeah,
nice,
he's a good guy to run into.
Yeah, he's a hype
Yeah.
man for sure.
definitely a hype man. What's your, if you've thought much about Montana's running journey, do you have, is it like break 3 and then we're moving on to ultras? Are you going to stay around the marathon world? Is it like a hit sub 3 and then I'm going to chill? You're going to run a fast mile? Have you thought much about that?
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, first I got to do it. I don't want to start planning other goals, but who knows? If I do it and I love it, I'll keep trying to get faster and faster and faster. But I have seen a lot of TikToks about like Ironmans, and I'm like, that seems kind of fun too. Like, because we have a Peloton at home, so I've been biking every morning, kind of as cross training. Also to
Did you bring it with to North Carolina?
no, it's been really hard not
Yeah.
having it. It has, but I'm in a steps challenge at work, so I've been biking every single day. I've been walking and I've been running, so the biking has been fun to me. So maybe an Ironman down the road or something like that. We'll see.
I just want him to qualify for Boston so that we can both go to Boston and run together. Like, not run together, but theoretically run the race together. Like, on the same course, the same
That
day.
would be cool.
Yeah.
Very super.
That's goals right there.
Yeah.
I have a long
And I can be done and have my feet up, drinking a beer, waiting for him to come across the finish line.
3 hours later.
No, it won't be that long.
Also, that reminded me of ultras. I feel like I heard in a podcast, Dakotah, where you're saying that wasn't gonna be for a long time, but a little offended by that being an ultra runner. And I really think that once Montana finishes the second marathon, that then you both should start in the ultra world, because I'm also trying to get Jacob to come over to the ultra world, and it's very difficult to get a marathoner to start doing other distances.
I agree, because you like lose some of, like, I want to say quote unquote speed, the marathon speed to the ultra. It's kind of like with the progression of track to marathon. Once you go up to the marathon, it's really hard to go back to the track. And I'm afraid that if I go to the ultra, I'm going to lose all my marathon speed and I won't be able to go back to the roads, which I definitely want to do ultras. I want to set the world record in the 50K, but there's just not as much glory in ultras and not as much money to be
Yes.
honest. So
Because you haven't gotten to the ultra world yet.
yeah, I
You
gotta
need that person.
create an explosion.
Exactly. Does Puma do, like, Nike does, like, all the trail stuff? Does Puma?
They
How
I don't know
much
if they
and
have
filming?
really like a trail. They have trail shoes, but they don't have trail athletes. So I mean, maybe I could be the first one.
I was going to say, again, this would be their, like, push to
Yeah,
then start getting in the trail world, which, I mean, I feel like that is exploding
it is.
in especially the last couple of years. So,
Didn't Molly kind of dip her toes in that?
Yeah, I do think Molly Seidel tried to, but I'm also very injury prone right now, and like I feel like the trails might expose injuries that I would probably have more of, I guess. Yeah.
You brought up, you said something about not as much money in trails, and it made me wonder kind of about, a lot of times with running, we don't really think about the fact that it is a business. And I'm curious, like personal training wise and whatnot for myself, thinking about like my 20s I'm in right now all the way to my 60s, right? There aren't a lot of personal trainers in their 60s, right? So I'm kind of curious what your mindset is on like the development of yourself as a professional athlete and runner through the next 40, 50 years and whatnot, and if you've thought a whole lot about that, if that makes sense.
I think you have to. Like, I'm in a really great, I'm really blessed and thankful to be in a spot right now where I am making, a living doing what I'm doing. But you're right. Like, I'm not going to be 60 years old and sponsored by Puma, still running like the Boston Marathon and getting an appearance fee. So just being like really smart right now with the money I make, and then also just trying to figure out how I can leverage my running career into something else when I'm ready to, put the shoes down and maybe pick up a job, working for NBC or being a commentator, going to races, something like that. Somehow I do want to be able to leverage this career so that I can stay in this world because I love it so much. And I just like can imagine necessarily like working a 9 to 5 after I'm done here. I just can't imagine. I'm not really like the office girly. So.
Right. Kind of like a Carrie Tolson or Carrie Goucher kind of
exactly
direction. Do you ever see yourself doing like coaching as?
I love it part-time right now. So maybe possibly becoming just a little bit more involved in it. Yeah, I guess we'll see. It's fun to make plans and like dream about it, but I feel like as the time comes, it'll probably be wildly different than I think it will be now.
Right. Are both of you trying to stay in Minnesota? Can I ask that?
Yeah.
I think we're always open to moving. Every year that we come to a training camp, I'm like, why do we live in Minnesota? But then you get to the summers in Minnesota and it's like, this is heaven on earth. So, TBD, I guess. I would be open to moving if, something changed with my team or anything where it just didn't make sense for me to be associated with Minnesota Distance Elite anymore. But for the time being, I can't imagine leaving Lundo or the team. So someday maybe.
Yeah, I have so much family here too. I have 6 nieces and nephews, my mom, my siblings, so it's hard to leave that. We've always joked about finding a new spot for us all to live, but that's not feasible.
A commute somewhere. Yeah, commute.
What about you guys? Are you here to stay?
Depends on who you ask. We're both from Minnesota too.
Yeah.
The Twin Cities area within like an hour or so. And have also talked about moving elsewhere. I moved for 3 years after undergrad and moved out of state for a while. So I kind of had that experience of living somewhere else and then came back because of family. Jacob has not moved before. And so we've definitely talked about like, is that something like you need to do to like be happy?
Essentially, yeah.
For the rest of your life.
Yeah. I went to the reason I commented on your Strava a while back about Mound is because I went to Watertown, which is the next over from Mound.
Yeah.
Mound in a bunch of sports.
Yeah.
And I've done a couple like month-long trips to Colorado and went to Washington last summer. And I wouldn't mind living in Colorado to be somewhat basic in let's go to Colorado and be at altitude all the time and run.
That's like every Minneapolis couple ever.
Right.
You can always move back too.
Yeah, nothing's permanent.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But it's tough with our businesses because, which is like also everyone says it's tough because of, whatever. But
you do have clientele and you'd have to pick up and find something else.
Right.
Yeah.
And I really want to rebuild.
Rebuild is hard.
Yeah. Well, and so Jacob has, half run coaching to virtual stuff and then half in person. And I'm currently all in person. So that also makes it difficult to just like up and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Meaning we'd both be rebuilding a lot, but like, my whole thing would be completely somewhere else.
Yeah.
Totally. And like, I'm sure that you guys have built relationships with the people you work with, and it would be hard to be like, deuces.
Right.
See you.
Right.
And then 2 years you don't like it, so then you move back and then you restart again because everything's done.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
Yeah, Dakotah would have found somebody to replace me by that point.
Yeah.
I would have come back. I will come back.
You can move to Colorado with us.
Yeah, sounds good. Speaking of, when are you coming down to North Carolina? I need a session.
Montana leaves. And keep you company for a couple of weeks.
March 5th.
Jacob won't mind.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Won't mind, right? I'll be Dakotah's personal acupuncturist.
That'd be so nice. Just at your fingertip.
Yeah.
I already told her I'm going to the Olympics with her the next time. So.
Yeah. LA, that's feasible too.
Yeah. Okay, another question about like business stuff, because I am like completely unaware of like being a professional runner. Like, are you like, does it work like you're kind of like an independent contractor then, like through Puma and like all the things you do, or like how does that work?
Yeah, so this last year in 24, I actually finally opened my own LLC. So I'm an S corp. It's called Dakotah Distance. So cute.
Love it.
But before that, I would just call myself kind of like an independent contractor who didn't really own a business. So taxes was really weird, but this will hopefully make streamlining taxes a little bit easier. But yeah, it's completely independent contractor. So that's why like sometimes there's drama with companies dropping athletes. If you guys are familiar with like the other brand, there was a brand that just dropped a bunch of older athletes and everybody was up in arms. But at the end of the day, we are independent contractors. Like they have no right to have to re-sign us. We're not connected to companies at all. So it makes it pretty black and white, which I like because it's all business, nothing personal, I guess.
Do most runners have their own LLC? Like, is that?
I think there's like a certain threshold of like the amount that you make in a year that makes it more reasonable to open an LLC. So I would probably guess most don't, because most runners unfortunately don't make a ton of money. We're not a super profitable professional career, I guess. But for the handful that are kind of like the cream of the crop, it makes sense to have an LLC.
I think it depends if they have a job on the side and are getting insurance through that, or
That too.
kind of on a case-by-case basis. But
Yeah. I will be honest, I wish I had gone to school for business because I don't actually understand anything about what it means to have an LLC or an S corp. So I'm really trying to learn, but I feel very dense when it comes to this stuff. And I have somebody doing my taxes, thank the Lord, because I would break every tax code, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that because I never intended to open my own business. Like, came from nursing, working in hospitals for the system, even went to acupuncture school, and everyone was talking about starting their own business. But like, I still was like, no, I'm gonna go work in the hospital as an acupuncturist or like for a clinic or something. And then it got to the point where it's like, okay, I'm gonna open this, and it's hard. Like, I give so much respect to small businesses now because I'm like, there's so much that goes into this.
Yeah.
And it stresses me out like no tomorrow.
Are you doing all of your own like books and stuff?
As of right now, I'm getting a little help through some different resources. But yeah, it's like going through all of your QuickBooks and making sure all of that's good. I'm actually seeing a new tax person tomorrow to go over 2024 taxes. And I'm so anxious about it because I'm like, I just feel like you can resonate with this with like the perfectionist.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
where I'm like, I don't want to like get audited down the road or be doing something wrong.
Totally.
It's like so scary because it's like, you think of like the big man has the number that they want you to pay in and what you're supposed to be doing, but we just don't know that. It's like, this is not fair.
And also, you're trying to make sure that you're writing off all of the things that you can and should so that you're not paying in as much. Like, you don't need to be paying in exactly the number they think you should because you had your own expenses and stuff, and trying to find that fine line of like, what am I going to, like, what can I pay in the least without causing any red flags kind of thing. So I think about that every tax season. I get so much anxiety. I'm like, I'm going to jail.
it's such a stupid system. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
We don't tell you how much you owe us, but if you don't pay us what you owe us, then we'll audit you.
Yeah, exactly. It's scary, it is.
That happened to me once because I did TurboTax and I didn't pay in the correct amount. And
Because you
couple months.
sold a house.
Yeah, because I'd sold a house. I didn't claim the correct amount, or I didn't put the right form in, or whatever it was. I had no idea what I was doing. And I got mail from them. They're like, you owe us $2,800 in the next 90 days or something. So I had to pay that off. But
So it's not as aggressive as I
Right.
think. They're not going to show up like, Dakotah, you're going.
It's your hands. Not running.
we have your house surrounded.
That's what I imagine will happen.
Well, I went to school for business, and I don't know how to do any of this either.
Oh, good.
If it makes you feel any better.
That does make me feel better. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of conversations around like just all of like the technical stuff with a business. And it's like, you just want to run. I just want to give acupuncture and like provide healthcare to people.
Yeah.
You just want to like train people. And it's like all of this other stuff. And it's like, yes, we chose to do these things, but it's still just, it's very overwhelming.
It is.
Where do you see the world of running going in terms of, you said that it's not a super lucrative sport. Do you feel like it's changed in the last 20 years with like influencers and just the amount of exposure? Like, do you think it's changed? And is there more money now? And do you think there'll be more money in 20 years?
That's a good question. I do think it seems like there's more money now. It ebbs and flows. Like, I do think we're really in a running boom right now. But if you went back 20 years, we were kind of in like a running recession. And then, but 20 years before that, there was another running boom. So I think right now we're making hay while the sun shines. But I don't know if it's going to be like this forever. I feel like we're living in a world in this moment where there's so much information and like so many more people are interested in their health and their well-being that you're right. Like I literally just saw something on TikTok that was like, hey, look at the ingredients of your salt. Is there any anti-caking ingredients? If there is, throw it away. And I did that. So like there's all this information of these influencers online. So I do think it creates more awareness, which then of course just creates more money. There's just so much more information right now.
Are we at the shrink the sport spot yet?
What's that mean?
Like, people are saying grow the sport, but then it gets to a certain point and there's too many, and you're like, all right, shrink it back down a little bit. Like with golf.
Yeah.
During COVID, it got so large and everybody was doing it. Now you can't find a tee time anywhere, so people are like, shrink the sport. There's too many people.
I mean, it kind of is like that with Boston, right? Like it's so where everybody's getting so fast, they're having to renegotiate those times. So maybe in a way, but I don't know. I feel like everybody rises to the occasion. So
Right. And now we're just adding more majors.
yeah, now we're just adding more majors, and I feel like I am not the right person because I'm very lucky that I don't have to worry about getting into a race like that. So I'm sure that there's a large community who would believe shrink the sport for sure, but it's not me.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's a lot of roads and sidewalks everywhere. So we do not schedule our running time. But even like grandma's selling out in less than 24 hours.
Crazy.
People were left out,
Totally.
And now Twin Cities for the 10 miler, they're doing the same thing. It's like the first come, first serve. And it's like, to be interesting how that stuff plays out too.
It's like getting into a Taylor Swift concert all of a sudden.
Don't even get me started on kids concerts.
All right. Time to transition to Taylor Swift.
My sister gets all of our Taylor Swift tickets, thankfully. She's queen of doing that. So someday I might need to get her to get my race entries as well.
Seriously.
Not competitive.
Dedication.
I actually have to ask, do you have a favorite Taylor Swift song?
Yes, my absolute favorite is Ivy. But she's such a vibe. Like, I could have a favorite song for whatever emotion I'm feeling at that moment. But I'd say overall, I can listen to Ivy over and over again.
Okay. And what's your opinion on New Romantics?
I can't remember. Is this a song you like a lot?
Depends on your answer.
I do really like New Romantics, but there aren't very many songs that I'm like, oh, I hate that one.
It's
Great
only
song.
to
Good
say that,
choice.
Yeah.
I think I remember talking like Jacob's favorite song is New Romantics. Like,
That's right. I do remember that. And I was like, that's such a random favorite song.
when did you start using Taylor Swift on your Strava as your lyrics?
That's a good question. It's been a couple of years. No, it's been like a year and a half now. And I would
I've always been trying to figure out what my Strava theme was going to be because, like, Emma Bates would always do facts, Kira D'Amato would always do jokes. Some people just have, like, their own thing. And I hated leaving things as afternoon run, but sometimes you just can't come up with something yourself. So I did try to do, like, TV show, like, quotes or movie quotes for a while, but that got to be a little bit too hard to find. So I was like, what do I have vast knowledge about? And it's Taylor Swift. And there's like something for every run with her, I feel like. And she's constantly coming out with new material for me. So
Yeah, you have endless Strava titles for basically the rest of your life.
right.
A dictionary.
Other question, Taylor Swift related. Do you just come up with all these off the top of your head, or do you have to go back and like listen to the song and be like, okay, what lyric do I want?
So it's a mix. Like sometimes I'll have a run where I'm like, oh, this scenario that happened to me today fits a Taylor Swift lyric that I already, like, one just comes into my head and like, this is perfect. If it's just kind of like an ordinary run, I'll just go to Spotify and mix her songs, and whatever the first song that comes up, I'll just scroll through it and find a lyric that I like. I'm always worried people are like, oh my gosh, I wonder if Dakotah's so unhappy in her marriage or relationship. She is so dramatic that I have to try to like find ones that are like, I don't want to kill or hate. I don't hate Montana, basically.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I've always wondered. I'm like, how is she coming up with all these lyrics? So
Twice a day, that's hard.
It is. That's why I have to resort to Spotify for sure.
But I mean, if somebody can put on a 3+ hour concert, we have lots of material.
Lots of
So-
material. Yeah.
Do you have any follow-up Taylor Swift questions? Because I'm really enjoying this aspect of the pod right
No,
now.
that's enough for the. That's what I think.
Thank you for allowing us to entertain Taylor Swift for a minute, Jacob.
Yeah, she comes up a lot.
Yeah, our first date, actually.
Yeah, on our first date, I accidentally bashed Taylor Swift, and then on our second date, I found out that Kaylee's a big Swiftie. And by bash Taylor Swift, it wasn't actually a bash. I was like,
If you don't love her, you hate her.
yeah, it was very much one of the. I asked Kaylee, I think I said something like, "Can you explain the hype behind Taylor Swift to me?" Genuine, like I was just curious
Yeah.
on what her opinion was on it. I don't remember how you answered that.
I don't know. All I know is that I must have really liked you to go on a date.
Absolutely.
Survive another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then he found out that my favorite song is All Too Well. And he's like, oh shit, I should never have said that on our first date.
Yeah. Do you prefer the 10-minute version?
Oh, yeah.
I was talking to Annie about this, but the music video, it's like a short movie, and it's amazing.
Is that the one about Gyllenhaal?
Yeah.
I think I've seen that actually somehow.
I get so emotional every single time.
So good.
Mhm.
Yeah, we just actually talked about this on the pod this week coming out tomorrow about our love story, but I made him on the way home from our second date listen to All Too Well 10-minute version, and then I listened to the 1975 It's Not Living If It's Not With You. And I was just picturing him like in his car, just blissfully listening to All Too Well after our second date. Yeah, he was very lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I was so lucky.
It all worked out.
Worked
That's
out.
probably the hook, right?
That was it.
Yeah.
Okay, back to like run influencers. How I know like there's like a lot of friction, I guess, between like not that they're not putting in the work, but like you're putting in like hard work to like run fast, right? And I mean, having your own business, us having our own business, like there's still social media is hard, as you know too, and it is a lot of work. Like how do you feel about like running influencers? And I'm sure influencers make so much money in all different things at this point.
Yeah.
And then also how he said like the running community doesn't have a ton of money in it. Like, what's your standpoint on that, and just kind of like in generally from like the professional running community?
You know, I probably don't have the same opinion a lot of people have. Maybe, I don't know what, I haven't talked about this a lot with other runners, but my opinion is
there are plenty of people who go out every single day and are trying to run 3 miles a day who have no idea who Connor Mance is or Clayton Young, but might know who, what is it, Track Club Babe is, who's like a huge running influencer. And so if they're just getting some information from her, and maybe it piques their interest a little bit more, and it turns this person who's like just trying to run 3 miles every other day into like a marathoner who becomes more knowledgeable. I think they're like a really good hook to running because they are knowledgeable. They're good at social media. They're like, heck, even on TikTok, I'll watch the ones that are like, come run 19 miles with me, and it's like, they're taking their goose, and like I like those. I like to watch those. So if that gets like some more eyes on running and gets people more interested, and so maybe they watch those, and then they're like, oh, that person brought up Keira D'Amato. Who's Keira D'Amato? So I think it can kind of snowball a hobby jogger into like a running enthusiast, which then brings more eyeballs to the sport. So I'm okay with it personally, but every running influencer I've ever met too has just been like really nice. So I don't know. I have good experiences with them, so I don't mind them. I think they're sweet, and I, to be honest, look at their videos and think like, oh, I could do something like that. Like they're so good at social media that I feel like I try to mimic some of the stuff they do.
Have you met Jeremy Miller, the Puma athlete who's an influencer in Dallas?
I don't think so. I might have. I'm also the worst with names. I'll look later if I follow him.
But I do think running's unique, and Montana, I actually would love your perspective on this since, running, it wasn't your first sport. But I think running's unique in the sense that we can see what the Dakotahs are doing on Strava, right? But we can also see what the Jeremy Millers, the 250s are doing. We can see what the 4R, we can see what everyone's doing, right? And you can make a career out of this sport and be a 4 or 5 hour marathoner. Whereas, correct me if I'm wrong, my mind goes to like golf, football, baseball. Like, I don't know if that's the case. It might be, right? But I do think that the running world and endurance sports specifically, and even like High Rocks now, has opened the door to that. But I'm curious if either of you, or you, Kaylee, if anyone has a perspective on that, and if it is like that in other realms.
Yeah, I feel like running's so unique that way. I always say, like, you can't go play football with Aaron Rodgers, but you can run a marathon with Eliud Kipchoge. Like,
Right.
There's not a lot of other types of industries where you can do the exact same thing on the same exact day in the same exact conditions as the very best, even if you're a charity runner at Boston who might be taking 8 hours to get in. So it is super unique that way, and I think that makes things like Strava so awesome because they can look and see, like you said, like what Connor Mance is doing, and not that they're doing the same thing as Connor Mance, but maybe that gets them out the door and says like, oh, maybe instead of going easy today, I'll try to mimic what Connor's doing a little bit, like set up a workout the way he does it or whatever.
Yeah, the Strava part's cool. I actually had somebody DM me the other day. They're like, hey, I was listening to Ali's podcast, and I'm also a 3:29 marathoner who's trying to go sub 3. They're like, can you kind of explain like what you are doing? And I was like, kind of gave my little spiel about how it's not just about running, it's about taking care of your body, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, if you want, you can follow my Strava. I literally post everything that I do there. Like, I post every run or workout that she asked me to, my mileage, etc. So people can just look at her Strava like that and realize that there's not really any secret sauce, as you would say. Like, you just got to get the miles in. So that part's cool. But I see a lot of the run influencers on TikTok, and it helps me learn a lot more about it too, because then I start asking you questions. I'm like, is this actually true? Like, there's no way.
He now takes nerd gummies on his long run.
As a little treat, because it has so much like sugar, and
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's very fascinating. Obviously, there's some influencers that post all these runs and workouts that they're doing that they don't actually do. So there is a downside to it, but I think for the most part, in our experience, everybody that we've met has been pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I like what you said about like having more eyes and stuff on it, because we also talk about like even the competition and like the coaching world and just everything. And it's like there's enough people and runners out there for everyone, and we can all eat at the table. And it's not like, having an influencer is going to like take away the money per se from somebody like you, who is like a professional runner because of times.
Yeah. And you can follow so many different people. That's the other thing that's cool about social media in general.
Yeah, it's not like you have like 100 people you're only allowed to follow. Like,
Right.
you can follow whoever you want.
So you can get information from tons of different places.
I will say, as you're growing, she's had more sponsors, more stuff that she's had to do on Instagram. And just putting together some of those videos, it makes you realize how hard it actually is.
So hard.
Gain like a new appreciation for how some of them do like multiple videos a day. Like they have to spend just hours and hours doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's a skill for sure. I think it's really amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
To be creative every single day too. I mean, even you guys with your podcast, like how do you become more and more creative? It takes a lot to edit and
Come up with themes, stuff like
I mean, there's AI now, or you can throw it in there and it'll
True.
post clips for you automatically on your TikTok and your Instagram. But it's
Even
still
that only came out in the last
right.
last few months, I feel like, of us doing our pod.
for sure.
So even that's super new at this point.
Mhm.
But yeah, like seeing after doing it yourself, then you have this whole new appreciation for other people, and it's like, okay, they should be making money off of this. Like they're putting so much time and effort into it, right? So like, who are we to like put them down for doing that's their craft, is creating.
Yeah.
So
And as long as they're bringing in new fans and new runners, like I just want to leave this sport in better hands and like knowing that the longevity of running is in a good spot. So it doesn't really bother me, I guess.
thanks for sharing. Yeah, I was curious.
Yeah. So I have a question relationship wise. So running, jobs, everything aside, you two just got married. I don't remember when. Summer, right?
Fall.
Fall.
Well,
My apologies. What do you feel like so far has been the secret to a healthy relationship, but marriage? Everything else aside.
we're like a whole 3 months in, so we're pros.
All right. Well, you can just go relationship wise too.
Yeah.
Just stay in the honeymoon phase.
Just choose. No, I feel like there's like it's kind of like a thing I hear my my friends who are parents say too. It's like picking and choosing battles. Like I can choose to get mad when he shaves his beard right after I cleaned the bathroom sink. Or I can choose to say, hey, this is funny. Or, hey, could you clean this up? Instead of getting like super upset. I don't know. I just think I have to always remember that he's just a human. He's just a boy. And I don't know. Nothing is that serious, really. Like nothing that happens on a day-to-day is that serious.
Yeah. And not going to bed angry at each other, resolving those issues. Even though you might be. I mean, you just never know what next day holds. So just going to bed, resolving those issues, and not getting a terrible night of sleep because we need good sleep as runners.
Yes.
Always gets back to running. He brought it back.
Always comes back.
What about balancing Montana a 8 to 5, 9 to 5 job with someone who doesn't have an 8 to 5 job? Has that been hard at all? Like she works on Sundays, right?
Yeah.
Man, like is that?
I saw him glare through the camera at me because he's just in jealousy.
It'll be different now when I'm in office, but I don't know. She's so busy that it almost seems like she has a 9 to 5, so it's not that bad. There are some days where she has only one run and nothing else, and she's just, hey, you wanna take a nap or you wanna hang out? I'm like, no, I can't. I got a meeting right now. But she's been really good about keeping busy. Obviously she runs twice a day, going to the gym twice a week, doing the acupuncture with you, taking care of her body, and all that kind of adds up to where she really is doing a 9 to 5 every day. So there are some days where she's not doing much, but
There are some days I'm complaining about going out for my one run, and he's like, do you know what I'd kill to just be able to just go for a run at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday?
done for the day.
And then I'm done.
Mhm.
Yeah, it'll be different when I go in the office though. But I know she's gonna be texting me all day like, "Hey, what are you doing? What's up?
Yeah, seriously.
When are you coming home?"
Then she can come into PRG more. So
Yeah,
this
that's
is
true.
good. I'm
Yeah.
a fan.
Yeah.
Just acupuncture for 8 hours.
Yeah.
We'll
I'm
just
gonna take all your booking.
to come in his room. Wait, and so if we're going to the gym, so obviously strength trainer here, how often are you doing strength training, and is that part of your plan then too, Montana? And do you give as a run coach, Dakotah, is that something that you incorporate for your athletes?
So I go twice a week, usually on Tuesdays and Fridays. The first one being a true strength session, and then Fridays usually more like plyometrics, which I hate because I'm not a very springy human. But I don't actually. I have a strength coach through TCO, who I feel is super great and knowledgeable, and I'm not. I know I can tell you how to hit the major muscle groups. So when I'm coaching an actual athlete of mine, I'll give them something very, very vague if they need it, but encourage them to, either hire their own strength coach, because I think there's so much more benefit to somebody who's saying okay, here's where you're at in your, your season, and here's a good time to peak and taper. For him, he just actually started lifting legs yesterday, apparently. He was leaving for the gym, and he was...
To backtrack, I used to go to Train Your Right Fitness right next door to you guys, actually. And that's where I would actually be able to do legs. But now we used to be at Lifetime, and now we have a kind of a gym at home, so it's all free weights. I used to do a lot of sleds and stuff like that, which we don't have at home. So now that we're in North Carolina, I'm going to an actual gym, so I actually have the equipment to do that.
But as he was walking out the door yesterday, he goes, "What should I do for my legs?" I was like, "You went to the gym all the time." He's like, "Yeah, but I was only upper body." So
Curls for the girl.
we're teaching him lower body stuff now.
I mean, I know the basics, the squats and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
what are her plyos? What are your plyos that you're doing? I never did any of that kind of stuff.
It's a little different.
I did the stuff you see the gym rats doing. I'd look around at the gym and see people squatting or doing.
I love it.
I respect it.
Well, come back quick. We have a group class tonight for runners, so if you join in.
Yeah, fly in.
I'll be there soon.
Yeah.
We do biceps occasionally, actually. I am big on intimidation factor. So
I don't do those anymore. It's unnecessary weight.
Slim down the arms.
Kind of lean out.
funny.
I got to slim down to be sub 3. No more creatine.
Creatine. We've been talking about creatine a lot too.
That is actually funny. We've actually been plugging creatine the last 4 podcasts. Well, this was awesome. Thank you both for coming on.
Yeah,
and
of course.
chatting our ear off about Taylor Swift, especially. That was probably the most.
That was riveting. Riveting stuff.
Probably the highlight. I'm sure everyone's going to be very interested in
Everyone that bad?
the side of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so with every pod, we end with a "we get to do this" moment. And this can be any moment from your entire life, from today, the week. But what's the moment where you're like, wow, I get to do this? How lucky am I?
I mean, I'll be pretty basic here and say standing on the start line of the Olympic marathon was definitely a holy crap, I get to do this situation. Just being an Olympian in general felt like who let me do this? Who signed me up for this? I can't believe that I am lucky enough to have that opportunity.
Yeah, that's pretty basic.
I'm just saying, of course that's what I'm going to say. It's not basic. Of course that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I love
Do
it.
you want me?
course.
You look at him.
This podcast right now.
Yeah, probably recently. I mean, people pay her to train them to do a marathon, and I just get to get Olympic marathon advice for free every single day at the palm of my hand. So I would say that's my...
He just hasn't gotten his bill yet.
We'll invoice you later. Now
Yeah.
it's just- Yeah, super cool. And we really appreciate both of you being on here. I miss you, and I'm excited for you to be back.
Yes, me too.
But I'm also excited that you're not in the negative 30 degrees that we have right now. So
Yeah, I'd be unhappy for sure. I'd be mentally unhappy there.
Can you both plug your socials too, or anything else that you may want to share? With
Yeah. I am Dakotah. I think I'm still Dakotah Lindorm on Instagram, but I'm Dakotah Popehn on Strava if you want to see what I'm doing on there or want any Taylor Swift lyrics.
yeah, the important part.
Yeah.
I don't even know my Instagram handles.
Montana Popehn.
Yeah, Montana Popehn on Strava, I guess, if you want to see a below average runner try to break 3 hours in a marathon.
Hey, that's like below 3 hours in the marathon. That's like, what is, I forget.
Top 10% for sure.
In marathon runners, yeah.
Is that really?
I think it's even like top like 2%. I'm
Yeah, it might be
fairly
lower.
certain. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
actually, the average marathon for the male is 4:20.
Wow. Look at
So
that. You're
well
above average then. Stop telling yourself you're below average.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, I mean, I came into this
Yeah.
relationship knowing nothing about running, so I've only had to compare myself to elite runners. So
Like the very
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
like 3:21 seems slow to me, but it's really fast to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
Dakota's not normal.
I learned that when I.
Typical. Well, thank you. Excited for your marathon, Montana, and to BQ, so we can watch both of you guys at Boston. And yeah, really appreciate having you on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Have a good rest of your day, guys.
Yeah, you too.
Wow, Kaylee, we made it through another episode. What do you think?
We would love if you would go give us a follow, a 5-star review, and comment on the episode and what you liked and what you'd like to see more of.
See you next time.
We get to do this.